So here we have an example of long division from page 421. And so it says 3x cubed plus 17x squared minus 58x plus 40 divided by the polynomial 3x minus 4. So we're going to set this up just like regular long division. And so here I'm going to put what's being divided there. And here's what I'm dividing in. So I'm going to take 3x minus 4 and divide it into here. And when we do this, we're going to think just like we do long division. So I'm going to forget about the negative 4 for right now, and I'm going to forget about everything else here. And I'm going to look at those two. And I'm going to say, how many times does 3x divide into 3x cubed? And 3x will divide into 3x cubed x squared times. So I write x squared. And then I'll take x squared, and I will times x squared times both of these terms. So x squared times 3x gives me 3x cubed, because this is like x to the first, and x squared times negative 4 gives me a negative 4x squared. Now, just like regular division, we are going to subtract. So I'm going to subtract this binomial from here. And when I subtract, the 3x cubes will cancel out, and I'll be left with 17x squared minus a negative 4x squared. And that gives me a 21x squared. And then I'll drop down this next term, which is negative 58x. And that's just like regular long division. Now I'm going to look at this 21x squared, and I'm going to say, how many times does 3x divide into 21x squared? 21x squared divided by 3x, I can get 7x out of that. So I'm going to go 7x times 3x, and I get 7x times 3x gives me 21x squared, and then I'll go 7x times a negative 4, and 7x times a negative 4 gives me a negative 28. Again, just like in regular long division, I'm going to subtract these. So 21x squared minus 21x squared leaves me with no x squareds. And negative 58x minus a negative 28x, well, minus a negative is the same as adding, so that's going to leave me with negative 30x. And then I'm going to drop down this plus 40. So I now have negative 30x plus 40. I'm going to take a look at this negative 30x, and I'm going to say, how many times does 3x divide into negative 30x? And it goes in there a negative 10 times. So I'm going to put a negative 10 up here, and then I'm going to multiply negative 10 times a 3x gives me a negative 30x, and then I'm going to go negative 10 times a negative 4, and I get a positive 40. And then just like in regular long division, I'm going to subtract, so I'll have negative 30x minus a negative 30x, and a 40 minus a 40, and that gives me 0 for a remainder. So my answer will be, if I take this 4-term polynomial and divide it by that binomial, I will be left with x squared plus 7x minus 10. Okay, let's take a look at one more example, and this one's number 49. So 49 looks like this. I have 4x cubed plus 4x squared minus 13x plus 5, all of that divided by 2x plus 5. So I'm going to take what's being divided and put it underneath the division sign, and over here is what I'm dividing in. So 2x plus 5, and so I'm going to forget about the plus 5 for right now, and I'm just going to look at this 2x. And I'm going to take that 2x, and I'm going to look at this 4x cubed, and I'm going to say, how many times does 2x go into 4x cubed? Well, I can put it in 2x squared amount of times. So if I go 2x squared, I'm then going to take my 2x squared, and I'm going to multiply it by 2x, and I get 4x cubed, and I'm going to take my 2x squared and multiply it to the positive 5, and that gives me a plus 10x squared. And then just like in long division, I'm going to subtract this. So 4x cubed minus 4x cubed leaves me with no x cubed, and 4x squared minus 10x squared leaves me with a negative 6x squared. And then I'll drop down this negative 13x. Then I take a look here and I say I have negative 6x squared, and I'm going to say, how many times does 2x divide into negative 6x squared? And it divides in negative 3x times. So I'll take my negative 3x and I'll multiply it by 2x, and I get a negative 6x squared. Then I'll take my negative 3x and I'll multiply it to the positive 5, and I get a negative 15x. And just like in long division, I'm going to subtract again. And 6x squared minus a negative 6x squared, they cancel out. I'm left with no x squareds. And negative 13x minus a negative 15x is the same as saying negative 13x plus 15x, so that leaves me with a positive 2x. And then I'll drop down this 5, so I have 2x plus 5. And I come over here and I say, how many times does 2x divide into 2x? Well, it divides one time. So I'll take 1 times 2x, and I get 2x. And then I'll take 1 times 5, and I get plus 5. And then I subtract, and when I subtract those out, I get a remainder of 0. So my answer is, up here, 2x squared minus 3x plus 1.